Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where I share with you my life as a third-year DPhil student at the University of Oxford. And this week I wanted to share with you a bit, how do I stay motivated while doing my research and what I do. And of course share with you a bit of my life as well. So this is just a bit right after Easter break, and at first my plan for Easter was going to actually fly back home to Bangkok, Thailand, and be there with my family. But I had booked my flights through Etihad Airlines. So, as you know, with everything that happened in this world, things change, plans change, and so I am in Oxford for Easter break, and which actually works out in a bit because I do have a lot to do. And I am in my third year, so I'm working towards my confirmation of status in Oxford, which is a bit like, you could say it's a mini Viva, and where you get assessed by two assessors who are not your supervisor on your work, see how it's going. And so today I thought I would share with you, how do I stay motivated, when there's a lot going on, things changes. But I think the trick is to keep yourself curious and stay, always looking to learn something new. So we had an Oxford Literary Festival in March, and I signed up with my friend to go listen to Professor Simon Sharma, who was talking about the history of anti-Semitism. Of course, the schedule's all planned before everything happens, but it was good timing, and I really learned a lot. And I think it's good to always kind of get your self to listen to new perspectives. And then afterwards, we went for lunch at the Turf Tavern. If you've never been, it's a beautiful 12th century tavern that's been frequented by many Oxford students, famous ones like Bill Clinton and Emma Watson, of course. And we had fish and chips and a pie, and it was really good. And I love the atmosphere that it's located right next to the old city wall of Oxford. So when you look up, you see the wall, and it's right by the Bridge of Sighs, so people always like that. Yes, so this is where allegedly Bill Clinton did smoke but did not inhale when he was a student at Oxford. And we saw a cute little robin just outside as we were leaving. It was pretty quiet because all the students, undergrad students, probably have just left for their Easter vacation, and none of the tourists were yet in town. And I went to Waterstones to work a little bit at the cafe downstairs. I forgot to film that part, but I had a few things I had to get done before I had another appointment with a good friend who happened to be back in town for a conference, and I haven't seen her for a while after she graduated. And she really wanted to have her favorite noodles at this place called Sea Noodles. I've never been, but it looks really good, and she's a frequent customer there, so I decided, let's go have it. And it was really good. We had spicy beef noodles. And then after that, she took me to visit Nuffield College, where she was while she was a student at University of Oxford, and she still has affiliation. So it's a beautiful college. I passed it all the time while walking from the castle, and that was the common area for students. This is the library. So the tower that you see right opposite the castle, the Oxford Castle, that is a library, and they have, I think, 7 stories of a library in there. So nice square rooms, little quiet nooks, and places for students to sit and work. But I'm not a college member, so I can't use Nuffield College. But I think my college, St. Anthony's, does have an agreement to allow St. Anthony's students to use Nuffield College libraries. It's also a social science library with politics and economics. But I decided, but that it was already evening, and so it was good to visit and see what other colleges look like. And it's a really beautiful one. I really quite like it. Anyway, I'm back studying at my favorite Radcliffe Science Library, And today I wanted to share with you, like I said, how do we keep ourselves motivated when doing the PhD? And, things, as in life, not just in your PhD, but things do change, and sometimes plans change, and you just have to understand that nothing is going to be, exactly as it's planned all the time. So you just have to kind of reevaluate things as to go, kind of reschedule, replan, and make the best advantage of what happens. So, because my plans change, I decided, yes, I'll use this time to really just, get myself buckle down, finish my work, and get things done. So I think the first tip is to remember that things change, and to be flexible, and to kind of don't get too stressed about it. You're allowed to be stressed a little bit, but the thing is to just take a deep breath and then get yourself back and make new plans and schedule. So that is my first tip. Hi, so my second tip that I have is something I've touched on lightly before in one of my earlier videos, and that the PhD is a personal journey. So what I mean about that is that it gives you the time to reflect and read and learn about a topic that you're researching. And so what this means is that everybody has their own way and style of learning and forming their own ideas about the topics they research. And sometimes you see a lot of people, will maybe fall into the trap of feeling kind of wondering, how am I doing in comparison to others? And then you start, start comparing yourself, like wondering if your friends are going any faster or slower, what is their timeline, when are they going to finish their PhD? And then you look back at yourself and you wonder if you're going to be doing it at the same timeline as theirs. So one of ways I think about it is that, it doesn't matter how fast or how slow you do your PhD. It doesn't make you any less of a researcher. The most important thing is that you are able to learn, and you're able to become the academic that you want to do through this process, because it is a learning process and everybody learns differently. And so there's no good of comparing yourself to others. So my third tip is to sometimes take a pause and have some me time. So that's the name of my channel and my blog that I started many years ago, talking about how sometimes life gets so busy we forgot to stop and smell the roses. Look at the beauty around us. It was a very windy day that day that I was at SOGI, the School of Geography and Environment, and the blossoms were just beautiful. And so I took a few moments there taking photos and really enjoying it before I headed back to the library. And then as I was leaving the library, hail just rained down on us, and it was very wet and very, very windy and cold. But when it stopped, the sky cleared up, and it was sunny. And so, really take time out for yourself, enjoy the beauty of nature, enjoy what happens along the way, and smell the roses. At the end, life is all about enjoying your life and living. When you look back on this in 30, 40 years, you want to remember the good things about it. And so that is my third tip. So my fourth tip is to change up your schedule a little bit now and then. Explore, find something that you've never done before and try it. So it may not have to be something that's really extraordinary, but for me, it's, for example, just changing locations and finding a new place to work. So this time I decided to go to the Taylor Institution Library, which I haven't been to in a very long time. As you can see, it's a beautiful library right next to the Ashmolean Museum and opposite the Randolph Hotel. And it's a small little library, so it's always full. But sometimes just changing a place you work or finding something new, that kind of excites you when you see how beautiful it is, or you see something new. That little bit of dopamine in the brain makes it that much easier to stay motivated and excited to work. And that is something for me that helps a lot. So sometimes, some people like to go to cafes and try out new cafes, new foods, and new environments. And I like to try out new libraries as well. So yeah, so find what works for you. Some people can even go and sit and work on the grass somewhere. So yeah, change up your schedule a little bit and enjoy your work, because work doesn't always have to be in a boring old room all the time. Work is actually fun, because you remember that this is something you chose to do, and you wanted to do this PhD and research. So yeah, enjoy it and really enjoy the time. So my fifth tip for how to stay motivated is to set goals. And for me, I think of it like I'm at work. So I worked for quite a while before doing my PhD, and so for me, doing a PhD project is like being assigned a project at work. And what I do is I set my goals and how to achieve them. I work towards, of course you have the large project goals, but then you also have mini ones in between. So you work towards these small mini goals, and you set your timelines and deadlines for them. But you also remember that when you're in the office and when you're working, you're allowed sick days and vacation days and family days. So don't push yourself up so hard and say that, you have to be working, every single day, 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day in order to get your work done, and without any vacation, without any sick days, no room for anything else in life. And I think that is a way to will just lead to burnout. So think of it like if you were employing yourself at an office, how would you want to be treated? You would want some vacation days, you would want some sick days in life. And at the same time, once you're rejuvenated, once you give yourself time to pause every now and then, you will have the energy to work and achieve your goals. And holidays keep you refreshed and keep you energized. So I think that's very important. Take some time out, have some me time, do things that give you fun and pleasure, and don't feel like you always have to be doing your research 24/7. It will be there at the back of your mind, but knowing that you are allowed to take some rest. And that takes me to my sixth goal. And my sixth goal is that you have to celebrate the victories. So every time you achieve your goal, do give yourself a pat on the back and celebrate your wins. Don't minimize each achievement of a goal, that this is only just a little bit and it's nothing compared to my PhD. But the PhD is made up of these little victories along the way. So every time you achieve a goal, give yourself a pat on the back, go get something nice to eat, or maybe you go and you will, buy a little something that you wanted, or just take a walk. So that is really, very important. And my seventh and final goal is to kind of visualize the goal at the end. A lot of sports people use visualization in order to achieve their goals, and why not do it for your PhD as well? I'm here probably visualizing what I want, Korean food I want to eat. I did watch a YouTube video the other day, and it made me want to have this Korean black bean noodles called jjajangmyeon. I'm not sure if I've corrected it, and I couldn't really find a place that was selling it in Oxford, so I went to find this black bean paste that they had at a Korean shop, and they even had noodles for it, for jjajangmyeon. So I decided to make it myself, and it turned out pretty good. So those are my 7 tips, and if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe, and let me know what is, what keeps you motivated, doing your work and your research. Please share in the comments, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.